Hey everybody, I just wanted to show you a website that might be helpful for some of you in practicing for tests and quizzes. It's a little bit late for today's quiz, but maybe some of you will still have time to look at it. Either way, it'll be useful in the future. So this is a website that's called interactmath.com, and it's put out by Pearson, the company that makes your book. And those of you that have used like Math Excel or My Math Lab, this will appear kind of familiar, but luckily Interact Math is free. It's basically a selection of free exercises that Pearson offers for your book. So what we do is we go here to enter and we click enter. And it takes us to a list of all the different possible books. So what we want to do is pick your book out. So we go down to Triola, Elementary Statistics, and I believe we're using the 11th edition. So we can pick this one, and then that looks like our book, so we hit submit. Now what it takes us to is all of the different chapters, and it tells us how many exercises are available from each chapter. Now these exercises will look very similar to some of the ones in your textbook, but it will give you more examples than just the ones in your textbook, and it'll also show you how to solve some of them. So let's say that we pick chapter 1, Introduction to Statistics, and let's say, just for fun, we pick collecting sample data, because that's going to be a lot of what your test will be on today. We can identify the types of sampling used, and we see that there's 5 examples. So let's pick one of them and see if it's a good one. I'm just going to pick exercise 12. Okay, so it gives us a situation to estimate the percentage of defects in a recent manufacturing batch. A quality control manager at Daimler Chrysler selects every 14th van that comes off the assembly line, starting with the 4th, until she obtains a sample of 130 vans. And of course, we know that this is a systematic random sample, but if some reason we didn't, we could go over here and look at View an Example. And it's going to give us a slightly different problem, and it's going to take us through the different steps that we're going to want to look at, and tell us a little bit about the different types of sampling. Okay. So down here it explains to us that in this situation we have a systematic sample. So we'll close that. We can also go to Help Me Solve This. What this will do is it will break it down into steps. This is actually very similar to the previous one, but when the problems involve a lot of math, it'll actually ask you to solve the problem in the individual steps that you need to. So we'll close this, and then I can pick systematic, for instance. Check answer, it tells me I did well, that makes me feel good, I hit OK, and then what I can do is I can either go back to the exercise list or I can go up here to the arrow and pick the next one. So here I have another sampling type. Identify the type of sampling used. A woman experienced a tax audit. The tax department claimed the woman was audited because every 5,000th person on the taxpayer list was being audited. Well, unfortunately, we know this is another example of systematic sampling, but let's say that we didn't get the right answer and we hit random sampling, check answer. It'll say, sorry, that's not correct, and it will give us a little description of what's going on here to help us out. We could also do Help Me Solve This again, and if I do Help Me Solve This, what will happen if I go through all of these different steps, then it will ask me an intermediate step that I will have to answer. So in this one, every kth element in the population was selected. So I'll hit that and check answer. Well done. Then I'm going to hit continue. What type of sampling did the tax department use? Up in this case, it used systematic sampling. Check answer. Fantastic. And then I'm going to close this, and then it takes me back to the problem. So I can go over here and click systematic sampling, check my answer. Oh, I'm sorry. So one thing that happened, excuse me, is that because I checked my answer, it changed the problem. So the tax department claimed that the woman was audited now because everyone in 6 randomly selected districts was being audited. So note that after you do Help Me Solve This, it's actually going to come back and change the problem. So we know that in this case, this is a cluster sample, so I'll check my answer. Tells me I did great, and then I can keep going to the next problem if I'd like. So hopefully this will be useful. If you have any questions, let me know in class, but it's free, and I really suggest that you use this if you want some additional practice and help. Okay.